hmTV Matters.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Dana Download. I'm your host, Dana Arshan-Kraslow, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Cori Cohen. She's the founder of My Abroad MDs, which helps connect American travelers with English-speaking doctors on vacation in case they get sick or if they're studying abroad or I guess if they have any medical
conditions that need to be managed.
Right. So I'm so interested in this. Thank you so much, Cori, for coming today.
And thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course. So before we jump into what you do, tell us where you came from today. You said you live in Manhattan.
I live right in the city, actually right near the United Nations. But it was
Where?
easy.
What street?
I know. I'm really on 49th Street. And
okay.
so I
lived 55th and 1st for a really long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a terrific neighborhood. There have been, especially a couple of months ago, a lot of different protests and riots, and I'm very aware of when that's happening. But for the most part, it's a really wonderful neighborhood.
That's really nice. I know I love that area. So I was just like 5 blocks up in Sutton Place. What's it called over by you? Is that like Turtle Bay?
It's Midtown East, but Turtle Bay
like
is.
Turtle Bay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice. I miss the city so much. So my friend Justine Ray, who's a PR person, connects me to all the most amazing people. I'm so glad she connected us. So shout out to Justine.
Shout out to Justine.
And also, I'm guessing by the last name Cohen that you're Jewish. So it must be pretty cool for you to be on a podcast at the Holocaust Museum. Do you have any survivor ancestry in your family?
I know that we had family that was in Auschwitz. And actually, I know we're going to be talking about traveling. I had the opportunity to visit the Holocaust Museum in Berlin last February, and that was really an extremely moving and very emotional experience to be there. I had been in Venice beforehand, which is all spectacle and beauty, and then you're going to Berlin, and I'm like, you're in Hitler's summer home. Versus being in a very majestic place like Venice. But yes, I grew up in a Jewish household, extremely loving. We were taught to support each other and to be there for each other. And the most important thing was to show up. And if someone needed you, we were always there for each other. And basically that whole type of being there for somebody is kind of a little bit of the inspiration for my business. Even developing it was an interesting process in the sense that my kids were involved. My husband was involved. They all showed up for me when I needed them.
Amazing. Yes, I want to hear the whole story. So when did you first what is the correct term when you're talking about it in the past?
When did you first inspired,
right?
by it.
That's so interesting. And I actually am a huge traveler. Before we get into it,
right.
I traveled, I think, to like 35 countries, and it would be much more now if I didn't have young children. But I remember I was supposed to go to Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia.
Right.
And I got visas for all those places and typhoid pills and malaria pills and everything you could think of. And then my trip got canceled. And because I spent all the time and had all these things in my body, I wound up going again 6 months later. And
Did you ever get sick while you were traveling?
When I was actually, it's so funny you say that. I was just thinking about this. When I was in Vietnam for 24 hours, I was heating up, then freezing cold, heating up, freezing cold.
And it wasn't menopause, that's for sure.
No, I was 23 at the time, 22. And I didn't have anyone to consult. And cell phones weren't really like the way they were then, like they are now. I don't even know if I had an international plan. This was 2009. 2010.
Right.
But no, I was thinking about that before you came on, is that I would have loved to consult with someone. I wouldn't have even known what to do in that case. And thank God I went away in 24 hours. So yeah, what was the inspiration for starting this?
Well, my daughter, who is now, she just turned 25, but she had studied abroad in Barcelona. She's one of those kids that was very concerned about what if I get sick and what am I going to do? And I just wanted her to be prepared. And we talked about it. I said, okay, let me call your study abroad office and see if they can be helpful. And when I called, they weren't as helpful. And then while she was traveling, I just envisioned everything that could go wrong. And it made me just completely paranoid. And I wanted to have more control over it. So I decided that for her study abroad experience, I would just create this list, right, that would take her throughout her entire abroad experience. And so she told me the countries that she would be visiting. And I also created a list for her at her abroad location. I was one of those really intense power moms.
That's a real like helicopter mom in the best possible way.
Well, you know what it is? I didn't want to be bothered at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Does she get sick often, or she was just paranoid?
Well, I'm really glad I created this list for her, because her abroad experience was like, she was the star of what could go wrong next. She was in Barcelona. She needed a prescription refill. In Amsterdam, she cut her hand. In Paris, she fell and she had a scrape on her knee. She had a UTI in Prague. And I was very relieved that she knew who to call.
So you had a list of every like local doctor in the area.
It started off with just a few, just for acute care. And then I made sure that she would have like a hospital that she could go to. But it started the framework of something I thought, wow, this is really great. And she shared it with a couple of her friends, and they came back and they go, I just want to let you know, I used this list that you gave to Juliet, and it really was helpful. And I was becoming an empty nester. My son was going to go to college at University of Michigan, and I thought,
go
okay,
blue. My
go
husband's
blue.
a Michigan grad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the best school, right?
Yeah, it's so fun.
Best school.
He's trained me to say "go blue" to anyone who wears Michigan
I say "go
gear.
blue" to everyone. Whenever I see it, I'm like, "Go blue, go blue, go blue."
I went to University of Delaware, but same colors, but I buy Michigan gear for myself instead of Delaware gear.
Right.
I just love it.
Right. Well, my son was going to be in Michigan, and I thought, this is my moment where I can choose to do different things with my life. And it was also at a time when AI was coming out, and it was so important to learn that whole new term and to figure out where it was going. So I know it sounds funny, I started following AI influencers on TikTok to learn. So it's more than cooking. It's more for cooking.
Yeah.
TikTok isn't just for cooking.
It's so funny.
I learned to follow a lot of different wonderful educators in AI and influencers.
And you're still very young, but your generation isn't like a TikTok, Instagram generation.
No.
And so that's really impressive that you took the step to learn it.
Well, it was important. And my friends were like, you're not scared of AI. Are you scared, Cori? And I'm like, I'm not. I was so fascinated by it, and I'm so grateful for it, because it really taught me so much about technology, about where it's going. And also, I'm relieved that I know about it, because I'm able to communicate with my kids and that whole generation of the future, because they're going to be using it more and more. And it was just so important to be able to understand it, not just for my future growth as I evolve as a person, and as in this world, technologically, it's just so important to learn and teach yourself. So in any case, this became my little baby, and I decided to pilot it with my son's fraternity at the University of Michigan.
Which frat?
Pi Cap.
Okay, nice.
And so it was really funny at the time, because a lot of the mothers were like, oh, this is perfect. And it really was just a list, of different cities in Europe that they would be traveling to. And it was great to get the feedback to see what their experiences were with the doctors, but also to hear the doctor's feedback also, because it's a relationship, right? The doctors are the heart and soul of my abroad MDs, and I want them to be happy. And I wanted to know if they're, how the kids were treating them, and how families were treating them. And I got really interesting feedback. I know that, and this is funny, you'll like this, probably the biggest feedback was from one of my doctors in Barcelona that I work with. And I said, do you have any feedback, from the students that I've referred you to? he said, I'm really surprised these kids are 21 years old or 22 years old, and they're still having their parents call on their behalf. The first phone call is not from the kids, it was from the parents in the States. And so they were the ones that were calling for their children's behalf for a sore throat. And yet these kids are able to make their plane reservations and make their tours and make their hotel reservations, but they were nervous about calling a doctor. And
do you have, let me stop you for a sec. Do you have I know your husband is a GI doctor, right?
Right.
Do you have any medical background?
I don't have any medical background, but as a wife of a doctor, it's really amazing to me that my friends call me first before they even speak to my husband.
That's so funny.
I have won the game Diagnose That Disease when I'm playing with my husband and his friends.
Wait, so when did the company start? Did you tell me which year?
It started about 4 years ago, or 3.5, 4 years ago.
2022?
Yeah, 2022, with my son's fraternity piloting it. And it's really grown and evolved. And
how does it work? And you get them to doctors? And also, how does health insurance work abroad? Fortunately, I've never had to deal with that.
Okay, so I'm going to start from the basics and explain to you. Yeah. So My Abroad MDs, just so you know, it's a healthcare platform. We connect travelers to English-speaking doctors. We do it proactively. We don't wait for an emergency to happen. We make sure that you're prepared with everything that you need well in advance. So let's say that you were pick a city that you're going to.
Paris.
Okay, you're going to Paris. And you want to make sure you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to embrace this new proactive strategy towards health, because in the same way that you're, proactive with the clothes you're going to wear and where you're going to sit on an airplane, right? We have a lot of control over that. We don't have control over viruses or germs. And so it's kind of this new philosophy is we're going to be making sure that we have everything that we need before we travel. So you're going to Paris and you register on My Abroad MDs. Before you arrive, I make sure that you have a curated doctor directory.
Could someone who did it the semester before just share that with a friend?
They really can't. Here's the thing. And this is actually a story. I just got an update from a doctor, right? He said, I just wanted to let you know I've changed my information. And so you won't, we update our directories.
And I guess you have people going to a lot of different cities.
Right.
So.
People go into tons of different cities, but also doctors are always changing their information.
Right.
I've had doctors that pass away. I have doctors that change their offices. So you could, in retrospect, if you wanted to, share your information, but it may not be accurate. Right. And then you're defeating the purpose of having a My Abroad MD's membership. The last thing you want to do is click on a link and it not work.
Yeah.
And then that's going to create even more panic. Right. So what's the point of that?
And let's support a local entrepreneur, a local woman-owned business. I think that's amazing.
Exactly.
So how does it work? Do they pay monthly for a subscription? Do people generally do it only when they travel? Does anyone keep it open year-round? How does that process work?
We have so many different kinds of memberships. One of our most popular memberships right now is the student membership. And kids and parents love it because it's inexpensive. It's relatively speaking, it's $79.
Yeah,
and most kids take two Uber
just one time.
$79 for access to 14 cities.
For how long?
For their whole abroad adventure.
Wow.
For 6 months.
That's a steal.
It is a steal. And we also have a family membership where you get 4 different members, part of your family. That's $4.99. We have.
And what if I just was going away for a week and wanted access?
We have a basic membership, and it allows you 5 cities, and that's $49.
Wow, that's a great price. It's a no-brainer.
It's right. And well, the great thing is we're having an app that's coming out in February. So the great thing with the app, if you are not sure what membership works for you, you'll be able to take a quiz, and it will help you figure out the best membership for you. And also, it keeps track of how many cities you visited. And you'll be able to store your CDDs, and then after your membership is finished, your CDDs disappear, unless you want to download them. I
actually don't know what a CDD is.
Curated doctor directory.
Got it.
Right. And so
for the average
person, a CDD is a curated doctor directory, which allows you. You could do a search, right, on Google and see if that works for you. But what we've done is we've really taken our time to get to know doctors abroad and to know the best doctors that deal with expats and students and families and travelers.
Research. Who did all the research to find these doctors?
Well,
did you have a team or was it all you?
Well, it started off with me, but then for years I've had a team of interns that I would have 11 interns for every summer. And it was an exciting experience for the interns. And it was win-win for them because they got experience not only shadowing my husband, who is a gastroenterologist, but also learning about doctors throughout the world. And I always say, yes, you're doing the research, but you're not necessarily just collecting
Are these
data.
medical students who are doing that?
So medical students, or just anyone who is interested in entrepreneurship.
And also connecting with doctors abroad and having that type of network.
Right. And learning how to talk to doctors.
Right. Learning how to approach anyone.
Right. Yeah. But I think for the interns that worked for me, it was more learning about how to speak to doctors in different cities throughout the world, and also understanding time differences and respect.
Do the doctors pay you to be part of this network?
No.
So you're the only way you make money is really from these
memberships. The doctors don't. I would never want that. We do have a system where if members have called me on the phone, they're like, I loved this doctor in Barcelona. I loved this practice in Madrid. I loved this practice in Kyoto. Mm-hmm. And so what they have on our app is a star, but it's based on member feedback, not any endorsement from me. And that's the most important. It's member feedback.
And do you help with advice like health insurance when they're abroad too? What if they're hurt or sick, but they're afraid to run to a doctor because they don't really have that coverage?
Well, here's what I would say. Most of the doctors that I work with are self-pay. However, if you do have insurance, for the most part, a lot of the people that are traveling, they either have traveler's insurance, students have health insurance through their study abroad programs. Mm-hmm. And it's self-pay.
Sometimes even like your credit cards help cover
exactly like Amex. Right. But what we do is we just encourage them to keep all of their documents and then to submit it to their insurance after. Right. And they're getting, a refund.
Then it could always be out of network insurance coverage
right. Yeah. And you're dealing with you're dealing with doctors that do telehealth, mm-hmm. and that also do home visits, and also you could go to a multi-specialty clinic. And you're always going to have to pay, even if you have insurance, you're going to have to pay some money. It could be anything from $20 to $250, depending on which type of doctor that you see. And then there's some actually, Italy is known for this. A lot of the doctors that do hotel visits, they're not taking any insurance. They're wanting to be paid in cash. Mm-hmm. And so we tell all of our members to make sure that you have at least 250 euros on you if you're going to be using a hotel doctor.
So that's very helpful. So you have all that information
right.
too.
And it's given to everybody before they go. Mm-hmm. And look.
Do you get a receipt when they're paid in cash?
Probably I don't get a receipt.
No, do they? Probably a lot of times they don't.
I know that there have been, when you're feeling sick, you're not necessarily asking for it. I've had some members that have asked for receipt and it is emailed to them, but they can't claim it.
Right.
The doctors, when they do a home visit, so, they're also dealing with transportation to the hotel. So that pays in effect. And so they're not making money. It's not really worth it for them to have it through insurance. And so this is a route that they're choosing. Is it something that I'm surprised by? Yes. But I don't control it. Right. I don't set the rates that any of the doctors charge.
So interesting. 2 more questions. Sure. How do you market this? I mean, how can you make it so that every student going abroad, usually it's junior year, right, of college, how are you letting them all know that this exists?
Okay, well, it's been really business to consumer for so long, and it's frustrating as you evolve or as I evolve rather, and my company evolves. We're getting more B2B with it, and we're reaching out to benefit managers. I also have relationship with concierge medical groups that, for example, they have 300 offices, and those offices have several thousand patients. And so I'm marketing it to also concierge doctors.
I have campus marketing ideas for you.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to hear.
Lots of ideas.
And lots of study abroad directors, lots of benefit managers, lots of travel agencies also. So reaching out to them directly. And the most important thing is that you feel safe while you're traveling, right? And that I always say this to everybody, as long as you're prepared for anything that could go wrong. Like, you have insurance, travel insurance, but you're not thinking about your health because it's the last thing that you're thinking about when you're going on an adventure. But germs and viruses, as we talked about earlier, they don't have, they're going to attack when they want to. You don't have control over that. They're going to come after you when you're least likely expected. And you do have those accidents. And that probably is a totally different podcast for you on things that have gone wrong. And I've seen it all. So that's probably a totally different one.
Part 2.
Yes.
What do you hope for the future of My Abroad MDs?
I hope that everyone, when they travel, just is prepared and that they know that you don't have to be scared. You can be prepared, and there is an answer. Why panic when you're abroad, and why worry? Why not be prepared? For when you're traveling, it's so important for travelers just to have all of their needs met with health, and for just to have healthy travelers throughout the world. I think
it's such a no-brainer. It's such a good idea.
Thank you.
I realize now I just traveled so much. Like, I've been all over the world and had no clue what I would ever do if I got sick.
And now, if you're a My Abroad MDs member,
you know it.
You know you can get access to English-speaking doctors no matter where you are.
That's so great. I love that. So before we end the podcast, and we didn't tell the audience yet, you said before we started rolling that this is your first ever podcast. This is the
first podcast I've ever done.
I'm so honored.
I'm so honored to be on your show.
What
Thank you so much.
inspired you to come on today? What intrigued you about hmTv?
Well, I've listened to so many of your podcasts. When I was told about it, I
didn't
listened
know
to it.
that.
I did. I listened to it. And one of the things that I liked is that you really take the time to have a conversation and get to know about the person behind the product. And so I really appreciate that you really took the time. You asked such poignant questions and you make people comfortable. And for the first time, I wanted to feel comfortable. And I wanted people to get to know me, not just a messaging soundbite. And you really took the time for, to get to know me and for people to understand exactly
that means
who
so
I am.
much to me. Thank you. I try to keep it real. I try to speak to whoever I'm talking to on the pod the way that I would if we were to meet on the street. So I'm glad that resonated with you. I have one question. So if you've been listening to my podcast, you might know that I close out every episode by asking, is there one moment in your life that changed how you see the world?
Yes. And it's funny because I really had to think about it. And it really impacted me this last moment when I traveled abroad to see my son when he was in Barcelona. The moment that really helped shape everything for me was the moment when I realized that I had created something and that I could do it. And that I had a family behind me that would support me and believe in me. And knowing that the most important thing is family and moments shared is something that triggered me, that made me feel like the most important thing that changes a life is knowing that you have your family behind you no matter what.
I love that. Family is number one for me too. Actually, my poppy, who's the reason I work here, my grandfather who passed away at 101, survived Auschwitz.
Oh, wow.
A picture came up today of a memory on Facebook from 12 years ago, and his picture of me, him, and my sister. And it just brought me back and reminded me, like, the whole reason I'm here is for family. And if you don't have family, then, like, what else matters in life? And that resonates a lot with me. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
So Cori Cohen, founder of My Abroad MDs, how can people find you? Any last minute, advertisement you want to put out there while you have the platform?
Thank you. Yes. Well, you can look us up at myabroadmds.com. We're on the website, and our app is coming out beginning of February.
That's really exciting.
And you could download it. We're a free download on iOS and Android. And I'm just excited to help America. And
is there an Instagram page?
I do have it at myabroad.mds.
Okay.
You can check us out on Instagram. Nice. I have a lot of different Ask Me Anything things that we've just recently posted. So you can ask me
Great.
anything.
I still have a million more questions I could talk
Sure.
for 10 hours straight. So I'll let the people who have questions send you a DM, ask you anything. Thank you, Cori. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in for this episode of the Dana Download, to Priscilla Dolan, our tech director, who's here, who shows up all the time whenever I need her. I say I need you at this time, and Priscilla's there. And to our executive producer, Bernie Firshpan, and everyone who works so hard at hmTC to put all of this together. Again, I'm Dana Arshan Kraslow for the Dana Download, and we'll see you next time.